Welcome back to Racing Debate here on Sky Sports Racing. Myself and Matt Chapman with you for the rest of the programme. We're reflecting, of course, on the Grand National. And we're joined, I'm delighted to say, by the winning rider, Sam Waley-Cohen, joins us live now. Many thanks, Sam, for doing this. Really appreciate it. Matt was trying to make out earlier on that these kinds of stories happen all the time in racing, but this is extraordinary, isn't it? This is ridiculous what you guys have pulled off.
Yeah, to be honest, we're still waiting to wake up from it, pinching ourselves and saying, is it true? So yeah, it's a bit of a fantasy. It doesn't feel like it could have come off.
Well, it did. I was chatting with Ryan Manny the other day, who won a Grand National on his first attempt. You've had a few goes with a lot of success up till now, and he went off and rode the next day with not great consequences. Are you taking some time to try and let all this sink in with yourself and the family?
You know, life keeps rolling. We took the kids out for a ride this morning, escape some of the interest and enjoy the sunshine and let it all sink in. So it's just such a special moment. Actually, I saw Ryan in the weighing room. He was telling us that story after his national win. So that's one to avoid.
Well, you're having a better day than him already for your Sunday. That's for sure. Immediately after you pulled up, and of course you have that immediate reaction with the TV camera, Sam, and you were immediately talking about your family, about love, and about gratitude. Is that still sort of foremost in your head this morning, all of that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it sounds a bit cheesy, but even arriving at the course, I felt swept along by just huge amounts of goodwill. People being really generous about me saying I was going to retire and saying enjoy it and, you know, well done and things like that. So it was a special day actually way before the race. People just being incredibly generous with their thoughts and well wishes, and you know, to some extent, it felt like that swept us along.
Sam, when Thomas so sadly passed away, I was saying earlier on the show that I came down and spoke to you and your dad about Long Run a long time ago now on the old At the Races channel. We did a feature with you, and the whole point of the racing was to bring the family together on days, because it is so hard for families to get together, and it was kind of a way of almost forcing everyone to get together, not to force them to remember Thomas, but just so everyone could be as one. That's something pretty magical.
Well, I was riding before Thomas died, but certainly when Libertine won at Cheltenham in 2005, that was really probably the first really good thing that had happened since he had died. It really did bring us all together, and so it was a bit of a totem for us to get around, to go and have days at the races together, a joint interest, and something that we've enjoyed, sometimes commiserated around, but always together, whatever the outcome, and that's what's been special about it.
That won't stop now, will it, Sam? Hearing your father yesterday, he's going to keep on keeping on, isn't he?
Yeah, look, Dad had horses before I was riding. He rode, and breeding some horses at home now. We've got Libertine here amongst others, and so you know, it's an addiction that's hard to get away from, and it's something that we can continue to enjoy together. So we'll carry on doing that.
You've been sorry, Matt. You've been riding them, Sam. What's going to replace that for you? Because this must be an extraordinary part of your life. You know, the buzz, the adrenaline, the highs that come with what you've been able to do riding these horses. Have you got a replacement for it?
Not immediately. I mean, life is full on. Life as an entrepreneur, life as a sports person, life as a family man is really intense. So, you know, it's quite nice to catch your breath for a second. And, you know, I think when you want to live life and you look for interests in life, they find you. And so I don't think I'll be sitting there bored.
Sam, I got 2 or 3 questions, but having said that, Boyce and I are doing a cycle for Racing Welfare in a few weeks' time. Do you want to come and join us for a day?
Where is it?
Well, Boyce, if we could bring in the Gold Cup winning rider here, this is our opportunity.
I've got some good news and some bad news. It's a circuit near Cheltenham, so around the sort of Cheltenham area, which is not too bad. The bad news is it's 24 hours. But we take it in turns.
Okay, I might Well, our offices, Portman Densco's offices, are actually at the racecourse at Cheltenham in the UCAS building, so it may be possible. Who knows?
Perfect. Perfect. We'll sort that out.
Boyce, you'll be on to you. Bad luck, Sam. You asked for the buzz. We're giving it to you. Secondly, can we talk about your dad for a minute? Because, again, we talked earlier in the show that there are people in racing who come into the sport and disappear from the sport. Your dad's been a backbone of this sport. And, look, you're a very successful family. He's got a few quid. We understand all that. But he's been chairman of Cheltenham. He talks about the sport in the way that all of us who love it do. He cries about the sport. Everything about him is what this game is about for me.
Yeah, I mean, Dad's done some high-profile jobs, but he's also done some jobs really behind the scenes for racing. Chairman of the Pony Racing Association, chairs the point-to-point for the Warwickshire, or used to, being deeply involved in the administration. So it's not just about the big days, it's about putting as much into the sport as you can take out. And I think that's a good philosophy in life is, whatever you take out of life, you've got to put back into life. And Dad certainly has done that. And in many ways, he's been unsung for his unbelievable commitment and passion, not just for days enjoy horses running, but making sure they have places to run and for the best of the whole sport, whether that's breeding, point-to-pointing, pony racing, or indeed on the big days at Cheltenham and Aintree.
Sam, you're a highly successful businessman now, as well as the racing, but Barry Geraghty was saying in the last 24 hours you are effectively the best amateur, and he would be including Patrick Mullins in that list, so it's a pretty strong list. What edged it for you not to become a professional jockey and stay amateur? Was it that you just wanted to be a successful businessman? Because clearly you had the ability to be a jockey.
I have nothing but admiration for the professional jockeys. It's an unbelievably tough life on the road, strain, pressure, injuries, yes, successes, but incredible hardness that they have to have. And for me, I want to do the sport for the love of it. And so I don't want to, never wanted to win a race and think about the money. I wanted to be involved in racing for every bit of the experience, whether it was a point-to-point where there's no money to speak of, or the Gold Cup. That was irrelevant to me. And so I think as soon as you go professional, inevitably it is about earning a living. It is about the money. You can't escape from that to some extent. And I thought that would change the sport for me. So I was in a position where I had a business idea, an entrepreneurial idea I wanted to pursue, and allowed me to do both things.
Yeah. I've just had a tweet, Sam, from Trevor on Twitter, who says that they've got to make a movie of this story. It is a ridiculous story. How quickly this horse has been transformed in the space of 18 months, basically, from starting out in the National Hunt Game to winning a Grand National. So I'm sure somebody will pick it up. Who's going to play you? Well, let's
it's Sam, isn't it? I mean, look, he's got the good looks of an actor. He talks like an actor. You just play yourself, don't you, Sam?
Well, occasionally I get accused of being a Dominic Cooper, so who knows? Maybe he'll get the misfortune if a film was ever to be made.
Can I ask you, Sam? I was stood right next to the winning post. You can tell me I'm wrong here. I felt you were about to give it one hell of a celebration, and then you thought, if I do, I'm going to fall off. Was that wrong in the back of my mind?
I mean, I wanted to give it the big heave ho, but he's actually a horse. As soon as you stop on him, he comes back to you. So as soon as I stood up to celebrate, he stopped on me, and I nearly bounced off him. So I thought, oh, hold on, get this job done properly. Look after the horse, get weighed in, and don't go showboating.
Just wanted to quickly ask you about the race rather than just the emotions around it. Was there a moment turning for home when Mark Walsh nearly seized his opportunity? As in, you were travelling so well, but you were slightly in a pocket, and then just as Walsh challenged on the outside, it opened up like the Red Sea for you.
Yeah, I got a lot of luck in the race. I mean, I was on the inner. It was definitely not the percentage shot. I think in my mind, you always want to have the inner over that last bend. You can get a little bit of a kick off it. And when I got the chance to sit in and just take a pull, that was a real gift for me, because I could just try and fill him up a bit and just wait. But yeah, going to the second last, it opened up. I think the real one was where Delta work started to come between us, and we, between Mark and myself, we managed to hold him off, squeezing through the middle, and lifted both of our horses forward. So got a lot of luck in running. Your record around those fences is extraordinary, Sam, isn't it, over the years? Given what you've just said about what was going through your mind in the closing stages there, could you have won that race yesterday without all that previous experience? Did that help enormously, knowing where you were on the track and what position you needed to be in those closing stages? No question. I mean, every time you mess one up or you don't win, you watch the replays 1,000 times. I'd watch more replays when it doesn't go right than when it does go right. And, when Oscar Time was second, I must have watched that race 1,000 times to think, could I have done a bit more here? Could I have done a bit less there? And on Oscar Time, actually, I was traveling so well, I almost gave up a bit too much ground after the first circuit. So when I had the chance to get into the posse after the first circuit and sit and wait there, that was a gift. It was something that I knew I wanted to do. So you definitely learn. But clearly, if you have a willing partner, maybe you don't need the experience. But for me, it definitely helped.
When we look at the winners we've got up on screen, Caterino, Libertine Warn, Oscar Time, as you were mentioning, Rajani Express, and now Noble Yeats, Sam. I know your immediate reaction is to say I've been very lucky and I've had the right horses and Dad's bought the right horses and all this. There has to be more to it than that. There must be something about these fences that either you relish, you enjoy, the challenge, or is it just that Thomas is riding every fence with you? What is it?
I don't have a very good answer. I think the only reflections I've got is, one, I think pointing is a great training ground for riding the fences, because the horses don't tend to keep such a straight line, and jumping is a big priority. So, sometimes when you're riding in around the national fences, you're not just riding your horse, you're riding all the horses around you, trying to think what's jumping well, what's going to go left, what's going right, what might fall. And you do that quite a lot, pointing. So it's a good training ground. And then I think the other thing is, the jockeys ride, they ride Cheltenham, Ascot, Bacon and whatever it is, time and time again. Whereas the Aintree Grand National course, none of us get to ride it more than 3 or 4 times a year. So relatively you can balance out your understanding of the course versus their understanding of the course. And I think that probably helps a bit. But, more than anything else, you do need luck. And that's my 10th go around the course, or around the national. It wasn't it wasn't just by magic. I've had a few goes at it as well.
It was a 10-year coming overnight success.
Just one little moment I'll never forget myself, just on a personal level, Sam. So I'm interviewing Sam and Robert before the off, and these are very quick interviews. You're only allowed 20 seconds sort of thing. And so I'm basically saying, Sam Waley-Cohen's about to retire on winning the Grand National. And after we come off air, everyone's quite jovial, everyone's laughing really and having a bit of fun. Sam looks at me and he goes, well, it's nice to dream, isn't it? And his dad looks at me and goes, yeah, we'll give it a go. And I said, yeah, you've got a dream in this game. Anyway, in the winner's enclosure after, Robert comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder and says, you said we were dreaming. Like he said, it just shows you, doesn't it, that at the end of the day we're all the same. And it was a lovely moment, because it was a dream. It was a 50-to-1 shot. I know the connections are shrewd, Sam, but at the end of the day, we all thought from Cheltenham you wouldn't get home. What was it between Cheltenham and Aintree that made you think that this horse would even stay?
Well, Emmett was the one that made me believe he'd stay, but I learned a lot about him at Cheltenham. I could never travel well, except when I pulled him out and found space. And when I found space for him, he really moved forward. So I always thought, well, he's got plenty. He just doesn't particularly want to do it. And so spoke to Emma after that race, decided to put cheek pieces on him to get him to travel a bit more. And actually, even in the National, for the first, 6-7 fences, he wasn't totally in love with it. And then I could just start finding holes and get him into them. But Emmett said, look, I think he'll stay, but don't come too early. So when I landed over the last, I thought, oh, Emmett's going to be cross for me if this goes wrong. I've got here too early. But look, he stayed incredibly well, didn't he? And one of the things I learned at Cheltenham is he has a turn of foot, and I'd watched his replays actually. If you watch his maiden hurdle, I think Patrick Mullins won it, and when Patrick asked him to go, it's like someone's set his tail on fire. So I knew he had a turn of foot. It was just a question of was he going to give it to me or not.
Right, final question, because we must let you get on, Sam. What does the rest of today hold? Normally the horse goes back to the hometown and there's celebrations. Is that happening later on in Ireland? Are you heading off? What's the plan?
Yeah, it's happening in Ireland. We're just trying to work out how to get over on the planes. So hopefully be there for the celebration. But he went back last night, and Emmett said he's absolutely fine. He lost a back shoe, otherwise not a scratch on him. So he's come out in great shape.
Can I just say, Sam, that as presenters and broadcasters and journalists, we have loved talking to you and your dad over the years. Great talkers, and people will forget that this lad took a lot of stick about Long Run years ago, and people were saying, oh, the dad should take his son off, which was never going to happen, but he had to endure a lot, and he always talked to us about it. As a family, I think you're a great family, and I think this is a wonderful story. There are wonderful stories in every horse race, but this is a wonderful story.
It's a great story. Many thanks, Sam.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Bye.
Cheers.
Sam Waley-Cohen.
He took a lot back in the Long Run days.
And that conversation, I was going to press Kevin Blake on that because he sometimes says it's a bit of a nonsense having amateurs.
Blakey was wanting Sam off him all the time. I remember. He always wanted him off.
Don't put words in Kevin's mouth. But yeah.